Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. This is the third meeting we've had and a great turnout. We've had over 200 people at these meetings, which is really encouraging to see, and happy to see that. So, 3 years ago, we began a strategic plan here at the club. We went through that process with the committee. We involved over 70 members and came up with our club's first mission statement and some strategic tenets that we would use to increase the quality of the offerings and value to our members, and also position the club for future success, membership growth for years ahead. Over the past 3 years, we've worked very hard on operations and improving the experience that you all get as members. I believe we've enhanced the communications with the newsletter, the emails that we do. I think we've enhanced the golf events from the ladies and men's member guests to the nine and dines and everything in between. Social events we've focused on, and I think we've improved. From new events like the 4th of July Bash, to the Fall Fest, to the new weekly Sunday brunches, been big successes, and trying to enhance the current events like the Christmas party and many others. The golf course has definitely improved over the years, and we're still working hard on that. I think we're coming off of what is considered one of the best years in Indian Valley history from a golf course condition standpoint. We have a great management team, which we've grown over the last few years. I believe we have a very professional group of people that are committed to continuing to work to make your experience better. And I promise you that we are going to continue to work, we always are, to make your experience better. So through the strategic planning process, two of the biggest tenets, most important tenets that we addressed were to develop and work towards a golf course master plan and a facilities master plan. So that's what we're introducing to you tonight. I ask for an open mind from you, and at the end, your honest feedback. We want to hear that. We want to know if we're in the right direction. So I want to introduce to my far left our golf course architect, Andrew Green, and to my near left, Vice President and Director of Planning for Chambers, John Snellinger.
Thanks, sir. Well, good evening, everyone. If you see a big smile on my face, it's because it's the third and final time I have to give this presentation. But I do love the evening sessions. This is great. You all have a cocktail in hand and you're ready to sit through what is about an hour presentation. I would ask that you hold your questions until the end. There's a nice rhythm that Andrew and I have with this presentation, and we'll be sure to answer all the questions that you have at the conclusion of the presentation. So real quickly, just the agenda that we're going to follow today. I'll have a few opening slides on welcome and introduction. I do want to get in the meat of the presentation with the why and why now. Why are we doing this, and why are we planning at this particular time in Indian Valley's history? I do want to walk through the planning process that we've undertaken over the last year, and then walk through some primary design considerations with you. It's at that time that I'll turn it over to Andrew, and he'll present the golf course master plan. I'll then pick it up and do the long-range facilities master plan, and then the all-important slides on the Phase 1 program cost as well as the financial model. At that time, we'll open it up for questions and answers. You will see there that it says exit surveys distributed. I want everyone to relax. I'm not selling you anything tonight, and you're not buying anything tonight. I'm just involving you in the process. We've been working with a dedicated group of your fellow members over the last year in developing this plan, and we really want to take it out of the box and share it with you for your thoughtful input. So I've given over 100 of these informational meetings in my history, and it's really, and all those of you that speak on a public basis, it's really difficult to measure smiles and frowns in an audience. You could be smiling at me and hate my guts. You could be sitting there frowning at me, but you just want the answers. So we had to develop a mechanism in which that we could get your thoughtful feedback in a quantitative way. So at the end of the presentation, during the Q&A portion, we're going to pass out to you a one-page, two-sided exit survey. The questions are very simple. The first question is, do you think we're headed in the right direction with regard to the golf course master plan and the facilities master plan? The scale is from strongly agree all the way down to strongly disagree. And mark however you feel based on the presentation. But the second question is, how would you like to see it change? Write in what we can do to improve the overall plan to make it in your likeness. The third question is, ask a lot of components relative to the various plans that you'll see today, and ask you to rate them from very important all the way down to very unimportant to give us a little bit of a prioritization with regard to the elements. On the reverse side, it asks about the financial model that's been developed and the direction we're headed in with that to give your thoughtful feedback. And then there's a series of demographic questions for you to complete. I would ask that you take the time during the Q&A portion and complete it while you're here. If you take it home and gets on your kitchen counter, the chances of me getting it back are slim to none. So please do a part. That's your job. That's your role today. And we'll make sure to keep this presentation moving. So just a little bit of background on us. My name is John Snellinger. I'm Vice President and Director of Planning for a firm called Chambers. We were established in 1899, headquartered in Baltimore. We also have offices in Dallas, Minneapolis, and Washington, D.C. We are a collection of architects, interior designers, and planners. My role with the company is Director of Planning, so I pretty much spend every day of the week talking with boards of directors, long-range planning committees, and ultimately the membership at private clubs across the United States in developing and facilitating strategic facilities plans like we're talking about today. So we've worked at hundreds of private clubs. Last year alone, we worked in 27 different states, as well as Canada, Asia, and New Zealand. So some of our awards, we've been rated within the top 20 in hospitality design. You can see for the past 25 years rated within the top 100 design giants. And then you can see there some selective recent awards that we've won. Important to note is that every one of those awards started with a process much like we've undertaken with Indian Valley and developing a master plan and then ultimately developing the improvement to go along with it. So that's enough about us. I really want to get into the why and why now and why are we doing this. Just to expand a little bit on what Eric talked about, in 2016 the club embarked on a strategic planning process. Much like you all do in your business, it's more of a corporate approach. It looks at the finances, the governance, the management, the staff, communications, and those types of elements relative to the strategic plan. The following vision statement was created to identify what the club should strive to become in the future. A family-focused environment that offers opportunities for companionship, camaraderie, and a variety of year-round activities for all members. Consistently provide desirable services, programs, and facilities that meet or exceed expectations by members and non-members alike. Foster an environment that welcomes new members and their families, integrating them into the club smoothly and efficiently. And lastly, promote the game of golf to people of all ages and abilities, make it fun. As Eric mentioned, there were two key strategic tenets that came out of it. The first of them was work with a leading golf course designer to provide recommendations that will be used to strategically guide the operation and administration of the Indian Valley Country Club golf program. So to accomplish this, in 2017, Andrew Green was engaged to work with the golf planning committee, made up of 10 of your fellow members as well as key staff members. Now, at the same time, the second point was engage an industry-leading master planning and design service company to develop a comprehensive facilities master plan to support the club's mission, vision, and strategic plan for the long-term success of the club. So similarly, in 2017, we were engaged to work with the facilities planning committee that was made up of 11 of your fellow members, as well as key staff members. As we look at strategic drivers for the club and why are we doing this and why now in your particular point in time, oftentimes when I come to the club for the first time, the story goes like this. Well, 5 years ago, we had a board, we had a committee, and they had a really good idea, and they went off and did a project. And the next year, the board changed, the committee changed, and they went off and did a project. And you can see 3 years, 2 years, and 1 year. We have a bunch of projects, but if they only would have taken a step back and looked at the club holistically and developed a master plan that then could be implemented in phases, it ultimately saves you time and money. So you have to commend the board for their leadership and thought of taking a very thoughtful approach at developing these master plans. Now think about it. As we were engaged by the board and started working with the planning committee, everyone's excited. What are we building? What are we decorating? Let's roll out the drawings and get into it. And we spent the first couple of meetings not even talking about drawings. We really wanted to understand your experience here at Indian Valley. What could be improved from the dining experience, from how you travel through the clubhouse, from the golf experience. Talk to us a little bit about what we could do to improve that. Then we got into some conceptual design. So it really started with all of your input from the membership on the planning committee and as well as the focus groups that were conducted. As you look at planning for clubs, there really is two key strategic drivers. You all pay a lot of money to belong here at the club, and we want you to utilize the facility. Anything that we can do to increase your utilization improves the overall value and relevancy within the dues dollars. So we wanted to make sure that we could, whatever we did, was impactful in that regard. The second thing is, there's a normal natural attrition every year. Members pass away, move away, fade away. We needed to make sure that we were relevant within the marketplace so that we had facilities, programs, and services that were attractive, that we could attract prospective new members. So those were really the two key strategic drivers that we looked at. And the last one, return on investment. I've given countless of these presentations, and a member will stand up and say, John, what's the ROI on that improvement? And I hate to tell you, there is no ROI in clubs. You're all in the dues business. You don't make money on really anything. It's really a subsidy with the member dues. So we had to recognize the opportunities for return on experience. How could we improve your experience? And again, it factors back into your utilization and the relevancy within the family finances. So what have we been working on over the last year or so? The first part started with the facilities review. We brought our team of architects, interior designers, and planners here on site and spent the day. We walked through the bowels of the club in areas that you probably haven't ever been, nor should you be in. But we had to understand how this club operated and how it functioned. With that understanding, we had several meetings, discussions with the planning committee, talking about those key strategic drivers and the primary design considerations that I'll share with you in just a minute. It's at that time that we engaged you all, the membership, and we hosted a series of focus groups asking again for your input on how we could improve your experience here, from the pool, from the dining, from tennis, from golf, and everything that you experience here, so that we could incorporate and go back to the planning committee for that understanding. It's at that point that we started doing some programming and conceptual designs. Now, I'll share with you that the option or the conceptual plan that you'll see today was not the only option that was developed. This was a very iterative process with multitude of different options that were developed by us and challenged by the committee to make it better, improve it, change things here, until we thought that we had a plan that was willing to work it out and to send it to you all, the membership, for your thoughtful feedback. Once we got that, we did some program costing, financial options, and here we are on the right-hand side of the page. And again, involving you all in the process. We hold these informational meetings so we can share with you the rationale for the design, the conceptual plans, as well as the cost and the funding model, so that you can give us your thoughtful feedback. We get that feedback from the exit survey. We realign the plan based upon what you tell us. And it's at that time then we will document it in a membership brochure, and it will be sent out to all of you for a membership vote and your approval. So really quickly, I want to take you through the primary design considerations. It's always best to do this in pictorial form as we walk around your various areas of the club. First, we wanted to study the entry sequences into the clubhouse for your everyday member traffic, whether it be for dining or golf. We also wanted to look at guest arrival for an event or private function, as well as your travel pass throughout the clubhouse. You have a lot of different entrances here to the club. One of them is your main entrance here in this location. And as you come in and enter into the clubhouse, you're met with a choice. Do I go up or do I go down? It's kind of that split foyer effect. And one of the things that we want to solve and improve upon in phase one is how we can address and improve that first impression and your arrival sequence into the clubhouse. The next is we really wanted to focus on your dining experience. It's the primary driver in phase 1 of the facilities master plan that I'm going to share with you, is how we can increase your utilization and improve your overall experience here at the club. It really focused on the bar and your casual grill room and how we could improve that space there to provide that proper balance between adults and families and socialization spaces within that area. We also looked at your wonderful terraces and deck space that you have that look out on your oceanfront property, your golf course, and how we could really improve that with some outdoor socialization areas, fire pits, and those sorts of things. We also wanted to look at your banquet facility and your ballrooms, the room we're in today. Quite respectfully, they're a little tired. We wanted to look at how we could aesthetically upgrade these spaces, because if there is one area where you can receive an ROI, it's within the banquet spaces. And we think that there's a market out there that we could improve some of that utilization. So you'll see in phase 1, we do have an aesthetic upgrade, fit and finish to a lot of the spaces here within the ballroom. Then turning it over to Andrew, it's really develop a plan to preserve your William Gordon design course and study options for improvements in a phased-in logical approach. And Andrew will share with you in just a moment on that. We also want to look at improvements to your golf experience here, not only your men's grill, but also your ladies' locker room and lounge, your pro shop, your turn facility, and how we can ultimately improve those experiences. They're slated for a future phase in the long-range master plan. Today, clubs are more than just golf. It really is a family-focused event. And we really need to look at all of our different amenities, not just our golf course, but we also want to look at our pool and our tennis facility and how we could enhance the tennis and pool to include pool house, changing rooms, restrooms, and food service offerings and outdoor socialization areas. We do have a modest improvement in phase 1 of the program out at the pool, and then we have some proposed future phases down at that facility as well. We also wanted to study and evaluate the potential for additional amenities here, especially in climates like yours, where we can increase your utilization during the colder months. A couple things that we're considering, and we want your thoughtful feedback on, is a fitness and wellness program here. Fitness and wellness is the #1 capital improvement in private clubs. It has been for the last 10+ years. It's not right for every club though, but we think based upon the feedback that we heard from the planning committee as well as from the member focus groups that it's something that would be liked here and a value-added amenity. So we have it on there and we want your thoughtful feedback. Another thing is golf simulators, and that's really something that can promote year-round utilization and really can be a spontaneous socialization area. We also wanted to, during the planning efforts, develop a logical implementation sequence, and our focus for phase 1 was how we could develop a plan that had the most cost-effective and immediately impactful phase 1 that we could relative to your utilization here at the club, as well as attraction for prospective members. And lastly, you have a great club as is with wonderful history, cultures, and traditions. We didn't want to lose that as we developed the future here. We want to bring those forward as we crafted the vision for not only the golf course, but as well as your overall facilities. So with that, I'll turn it over to Andrew and then pick it up in just a short while.
Good evening. It's great to be here. Indian Valley is a very special place. It's obvious from the last 2 meetings and this meeting to see this amount of involvement and participation. It's really great to be part of projects where members are invested and proud of their club and they want to see what's best for the golf course. And Indian Valley is the only place I have a hole-in-one, so a little extra juice for me. So I am Andrew Green. I'm the president and principal architect of my own firm. My formal training was with McDonald & Sons, a very well-respected renovation contractor. I spent 14 years with those guys. I've been out on my own for about 4. I've done a lot of work in the Gap. You can recognize a number of clubs here. And looking forward, I've been very fortunate to be involved in 2 very special projects, one being Inverness Club in Toledo, Ohio, for the 21 Solheim Cup, and in 2019 I will be doing the East Course restoration at Oak Hill for the 23 PGA. So I've been very fortunate that in a quick amount of time my business has grown quite a bit. Tonight, what we're here to talk about is the future of the golf course. And when we're looking at that, we have to understand that the components within your golf course age. So just like the roof on this clubhouse or the tires on the car that you arrived in tonight, there's a set life to each component. So when you're looking at this system, you see that each component's listed and the average life expectancy is kind of listed off to the side. Now, don't hang your hat on too much of the specific numbers, because all these guys that put it together obviously are pushing for you to reinvest in your golf course. But the idea is that each component does wear out, and periodically you have to reinvest in your golf course. Most of the components here at Indian Valley don't owe you a thing. They've lasted through the years actually very well. The bunkers in particular really haven't been touched since the original construction, other than some minor maintenance and repairs. When we're laying out the master plan, what we try to do is look at the age and nature of each component. We looked at a way to put things in a logically and fiscally responsible sequence, how we put the things together to make the work go smoothly. The functional needs of the golf facility, what do you absolutely have to have, the infrastructure, those kinds of things. Then what do you want as a member, and what do you need? And then there are a number of other factors such as maintenance concerns and so forth that we have to take into account. Now, when we're looking to move forward, I always like to look back. And you can't look much farther back at Indian Valley than here in 1958. And so I've got a series of aerials overlaid. I'm not going to spend a bunch of time on this, but I want to point out a few things to you. Here's the clubhouse, the original farmhouse location where we are today. Here's the back nine. Here's the creek and pond. The front nine here, 6 green out here, number 12 is there, okay, just for a little point of reference. 1971, one of the biggest things you see here are these little dots. Those are trees, okay? And the little dots become big dots. That's just the nature of the beast. Really, the way the golf course has been managed and maintained, there are not a lot of wholesale changes over the years. Really, the biggest change you see here in the early 2000s was the practice facility across the road, a very nice amenity for the club. But really, the golf course has aged pretty gracefully and provides a really nice place to play golf, enjoy it day in and day out. And I said from the get-go, from my interview, that the golf course really isn't broken. It's all about trying to push the golf course forward into the future. Now, the original founding vision for the club is all due for this guy right here. That's William Gordon. That's at Philmont Country Club. He built that with Willie Park Jr. Before he worked for William Flynn, where he spent a lot of time in the kind of the golden age, he also worked with Donald Ross. He worked with Willie Dunn, a number of other people with Carter Seed Company. So he had a tremendous legacy. He worked with some of the finest architects around. And a lot of great things in Pennsylvania. He actually had one of the first big public courses was Marble Hall, which is actually Green Valley Country Club today. He was a significant owner in that property. So really a great guy. When we're looking here at Indian Valley and what Gordon did, we see a lot of very unique things. This is an outstanding view into the way the golf course was intended to be designed and played. This is a photo that Ray found down in his office, and it's from just as the golf course is almost open. You can see here in the top left, this is number 10. That's the green right there, that color. And then you see the bunkering and the shadows here on the left and the right. This is the 18th tee complex. Here's number 1. Here's number 12 and 14. I call your attention to some of the green shapes you see. They're very intricate. They're not just circles. Excuse me, at the bottom you have here number 15, doglegging around. 16 downhill, you notice the center bunker wasn't in the original vision. Here's number 3 and 4, quite a large green there. And then number 7 coming back down the hill. Notice again, not a lot of trees on the property, a handful, but really interesting. Now, when you compare that to the original drawings, which you also have, which is a great blessing, you see a lot of really cool, interesting things that no other club have. Look at these green details and the way the greens lock into the bunkers. A lot of character, a lot of style. Here's 18, here's 17. The front right of that, how it juts out in front of the bunkers, very, very cool. Number 12 is very elongated, You have this interesting shape where the green and bunkers lock together. And here on 8, almost like a clover leaf kind of shape, very Donald Ross-like, actually. And you see some kind of corners. Very, very interesting stuff, and a lot of things to embrace. So with the master plan, we took that original picture, and we took a lot of the Gordon drawings, and we tried to infuse as much of that back into the golf course as we could, while still protecting the golf course for the future. Obviously, the game has changed a great deal from when Indian Valley was formed, so we needed to take that into account. Here we're looking at a few things on the back nine. Here's number 11. With the green restoring its original green shape, that green was intended not to have bunkers. William Gordon would probably have one hole per course where you'd have a green with no bunkering. So that was your hole there on 11. Number 12, we tried to go back to that elongated green, wrap the bunker in front a little bit, try to add some strategy to the par 5, an expanded chipping area out the left side, softening some of the false fronts on both 13 and 17. 14, doing some additional green expansion work. The bunkering I'll talk about a little bit later, but just to show you a couple examples, trying to eliminate fairway bunkers that are in the short landing zone, such as the first one on the right side of 12, trying to shift fairway bunkers down the line of play a little bit, widen the fairways for the shorter players, and challenge those longer players. When we look at the bunkers, your bunkering is very characteristic of what Gordon would do. A high sand flashing, again, locked into the putting surfaces. But when we're talking about high sand flashing, there's also a high risk of a heavy rain event causing catastrophic failure. Not a good thing, obviously. And the last thing we want Ray and his guys doing are out shoveling bunkers. So we want a good quality sand, something that plays well, something that limits fried egg lies or buried lies. We want the ball to sit up. That means we want a manufactured sand, something that's been crushed and is angular and packs together. If it's a rounded product, it's like walking across the first part of a beach and you kind of sink down into it. That's a recipe for buried lies. We want a really firm sand, and we want to avoid this. Every group has had the same reaction to this picture. You've seen this. So we want to be very cautious that we don't build a bunker and the next morning we show up and it looks like this. We've tried to put out a retainer on Cooper to chase all the animals away, and he does a pretty good job. But to really protect that, we're looking at a hard liner to go under the bunker. You may have heard of Better Billy Bunker or Matrix. This is actually capillary concrete. It's a similar product, but instead of being a two-part process, it's homogeneous. It's a porous concrete. You put it in the bottom of the bunker, and it certainly resists any burrowing animal around. When you pair that with a good quality sand, you get a bunker product that's going to perform really well, be able to be maintained, and provide a really nice product at the end of the day. When it comes to bunkering, bunkers are one of the best things you can do to give your golf course an instant facelift. And I know you have a neat little local rule, as someone mentioned to me earlier, right, about picking out the rocks. We're definitely take care of that. But being able to add some interest and style to the golf course and still hold on to your roots is what it's really all about. Here's the Grace course at Saucon Valley that I did a few years ago. This is number 13. So the before and the after, keeping the same feel, but kind of elevating it a little bit, and then adding to the strategy of the hole. That's the name of the game. A couple of examples of that here at Indian Valley. The first is the 8th hole. Again, your par 5s tend to have kind of lackluster second shot strategy, especially for the better player, or maybe the third shot for the rest of us. Here on 8, we're really concentrating on what that might look like, adding a bunker in the second landing zone and setting up different angles of play into the green. Here it is. I'm standing about 100 yards or so out. Right now, you can really hit your ball anywhere up here. There's no real thought process. What we'd like to see is adding that bunker in, widening the fairway to the left, and then making you make a choice of landing short of that bunker, to the left of it, or playing over that bunker to a preferred line of play into the green. By pulling this bunker around a little bit, now that's the preferred angle in. By shifting this bunker back, we accentuate that angle, and we also make it easier for traffic to get around that sand and onto the green. On the 10th hole, again, 1 and 10 somewhat similar, so how can we differentiate those a little bit? How can we hold true to the original design? Here we are looking down on it. On the left side, you see a bunker that had been grassed down. It lost the sand flashing over the years. We want to restore that, and then an opportunity to tie the short grass into the creek a little bit to kind of show off the natural asset there, as well as provide some variety around that putting surface. Also looking to expand in the corners and soften the front of that putting surface so you have more usable space. The 17th hole. Everyone has an interesting thought about the 17th hole, I would imagine. So what we look to do is really try to sharpen or reduce the sharpness of the dog leg. For those of you that might not know, that hole at one time played kind of straight from down here by the pump house. The dog leg is quite severe. To mitigate that, we looked at actually moving the first part of the fairway left, adding fairway bunkering to direct the line of play, and then extending the fairway beyond the crest of the hill out, moving the cart path so that you had more room to play a tee shot and negotiate it. So here we are standing on the tee today, and this is what it could look like. So get that fairway a little left, keep it here where the shorter player has plenty of room to play and play out to the right, and we're challenging the better player to cut a little bit of the corner. And at the green, again, kind of accentuating the putting surface and showcasing the original contours, softening the front of that green a little bit in the process. So I've talked about some of the kind of more of the sex appeal to the plan. Now let's talk about some nuts and bolts. For a property that has pretty interesting character and fall, it's pretty interesting that some of your wettest ground are on the highest parts of the property, 12 approach, 6 approach, but they're pretty flat. So we need to put in drainage to allow you to play the golf course in a firm and fast condition and allow Ray and his guys to maintain it effectively. A few things you'll notice on the back boards if you take a look. We've some of the major drainage pipes that were put in originally are failing. We'd love to see if there's an option to open that channel. This is from 12 down past 11T to the left side of 10. We think it would add some interest and character to the golf course. We've placed it in a manner that would not overly tax you. It wouldn't cause additional forced carries or slow down play, but it would allow you to appreciate an additional feature within the course. Also, you'll see these blue lines with little boxes. Those represent drainage basins and pipe. We try to get the water into a pipe and off the golf course and down into the creek. And then you'll notice a number of places that have this kind of hatching that's kind of in a Carolina blue color. That represents this. You might have heard of XGD drainage. It's a system of sand channels that are put on fairly tight spacing. It allows you to drain and firm a playing surface without grading it. And what we're trying to do there is not grade approaches and make them look like moonscapes, but get them to flow nicely from the fairway into the greens, and that's a great process. We also looked holistically at all of the tees from going back, which is not a high priority, but surprisingly have a ton of space if you wanted to gain yardage. But really looking to go forward and intermediate, all the way down to a forward set of tees under 5,000 yards, which I think has tremendous value. And then in this magenta kind of purple color, we looked at how could you create a par 3 course within the course you have. So for juniors, beginners, maybe mixed couples events, family events, you could play the course as a par 3. It would give you a quicker golf experience, and everybody could enjoy it. So we're going to talk about phase 1 a lot from this point on. I want to explain to you what that means. In the back, if you look at the boards, everything highlighted in yellow is in phase 1. The things in red are kind of things we're looking at are kind of intermediate. Everything else would be a later phase. In phase 1, we're talking about all the bunkers on the golf course and a few key green expansions on 1, 2, 13, and 17. The committee we worked with felt those 4 greens were in most need of some care, especially these 2 guys right here with their limited hole locations. And then 75% of the drainage pipe. That really stinks that you have to spend money on drainage because it's not something you really get to appreciate. But I promise you, you will appreciate it when your feet aren't soaking wet and you're off the cart path and all those other things. Not all the time, but within reason. The next priorities are additional green expansions, critical tee spots, and then there's a cart path on 5 and 6 I'd love to see moved away from the 5th green and to the right side of number 6. That would eliminate the cart path next to the boundary back left of 6th green, which is a real headache. And then all of the rest of the work would be considered down the road: creek work, the open channels, additional tee space, the rest of the green expansions, and cart paths. I had a question earlier about paths. The reason they're down the road is that you can't do heavy construction or drainage after cart paths. You want to do cart paths after the big work. The last thing you want to do is spend a bunch of money on asphalt and then have heavy equipment run over it, have to cut it to put drainage in and so forth. So I'll be around after, and I'm happy to answer questions at the end of the presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. Andrew does such a good job explaining that. I know, having given golf course master plan presentations, I never do it justice. So really appreciate Andrew's time being here over the last couple days. So with regard to the facilities master plan, we're going to talk in phases as well. Everything that I'll show you here is in phase 1. There's 2 components. We have one, the clubhouse, and then some work down at the pool. So here's the conceptual drawing that we have in phase 1. Everything that you see in color would be addressed in phase 1 of the program. You'll see that it's color-coded. Anything in blue is a light renovation, green is a heavy renovation, and yellow is new construction. I do have an overlay to show you where we've changed from the existing to the proposed. So let's start at the front door. As I discussed in the primary design considerations, one of the things that we're trying to accomplish here is improving your entry into the clubhouse and really creating a wow when you come in. Right now we're proposing to eliminate that split foyer effect. And in that, we're doing a new portico share at the entrance of the clubhouse and actually pulling that elevation change to the exterior. So when you walk in, you'll have a couple stairs to go up on the exterior, and then what that allows us to do is having a very nicely appointed vestibule and welcoming foyer all on one level. It really helps to improve the overall handicap accessibility throughout the clubhouse as well. You can see we have a handicap ramp down here along this side, which we really think can play in to the overall look of the exterior of the clubhouse, and it replaces the rickety one that you have over along this side here. You'll see also we've placed a handicap elevator located in this location to take you up and down to the lower level, and of course our stair turning to the right, taking us down to the lower level. You'll see most of the area here is in blue. We looked at which is a light renovation, really looking at appointing and aesthetically upgrading our restroom facilities as well as some of the lobby and boardroom area. You'll see, but our major focus was really on your dining experience here at the club. You'll notice that we've eliminated the existing bar that you have here, and in place we've put a new horseshoe-shaped crosstalk bar. That's the trend that we see nowadays in clubs for great socialization, so you can sit across from one another and talk, as opposed to a long and linear bar like you have now, where you have to bend down and look for your partner that's going down along the side. We also position the bar in a location to work with the overall flow of how you come and enter into the dining facility. We've positioned it in this location here as you come in, that there's some soft seating by a fireplace in this location here. So you can grab a cocktail, sit at the fireplace, lounge seating in front of the fireplace, wait for a guest before you proceed to dinner. You can also see different types of seating within the space. You'll notice instead of a large sea of tables, we have maybe some high-top communal style tables in this design, which work well with the overall bar atmosphere. And then you'll also see a banquette style seating along the back that really breaks up the room some. So it is a large room, but we want to bring down the intimacy to really have some wonderful spaces that you can have here. All really maximizing the views that you have out towards your wonderful golf course, and well as flowing out towards your outdoor deck. You'll also see that we're addressing some aesthetic upgrades within the ballroom. Here we're looking at carpeting, finishes, wall covering, lighting to really give this a fresh aesthetic, really to try to capitalize on some of that untapped potential that you have for some revenue. On the lower level, you'll see just minor changes really having to deal with the elevator coming down and the stairs, as well as some additional office space in that area. I know oftentimes it's difficult for members to vision what these spaces could look like on a plan, so we did want to do an elevation or a cross-section of the building. Again, this is your existing condition as you enter in the front door of the clubhouse with your choice to go up or down. So this is the plan blow up. This is a cross-section of your building looking this way here towards the bar area. So again, our new porte cochere on the exterior, we have a few steps up, much as like you do now here on the inside, and then that gets us to all one level within the main level of the floor plan. We really think that's an improvement from an overall flow and a first impression as you arrive at the club. We also wanted to do an artist conceptual rendering of what that exterior might look like. You can see with the new porte cochere and the stairs coming up, and then we've added some artist liberties of maybe doing some different types of structures up there on the gable end of the porte cochere. Now, we also did an artist conceptual rendering of what the new casual grill and bar would look like. But I'd like to caution you all that we've had no involvement from members in picking out colors and fabrics and finishes. So if you don't like green and tan, don't hate me. This is what it just could look like. We're a long way away from picking those out. But you'll see here the artist conceptual rendering as you enter into the new casual grill. We have our soft seating in front of the fireplace, maybe a mix of some high-top communal tables, some high-top tables. Here's our great horseshoe-shaped crosstalk bar with great millwork along the back wall with our beers on tap, as well as our TV and display of liquor. And then you'll see the banquette along the backside and our tables in the background. Just to show you some visioning images of some of our completed projects of what the space could look like in terms of the overall feel that we're going for. Again, you can see the horseshoe-shaped, great millwork bar, some soft seating in front of the fireplace, and a different mix and types of seating within the space to really give it that casual elegance that you're looking for. This is St. Clair Country Club up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It's a platinum level club. This is the new bar that was developed in that space that you can see with great millwork. We had some displays of wine along the backside. This club experienced a 42% increase in utilization of their dining spaces following this program. We typically see anywhere from a 25 to 30% increase in utilization when you invest in your dining facilities. So again, it speaks to our key strategic driver. And this was their dining facilities, again, just trying to give a fresh appeal and aesthetic to the overall spaces. So the second component of our phase one is really looking at our pool facilities. And again, it's a modest improvement, but we feel it's very impactful. Really looking at our adult socialization space that we have down at the pool. So you can see here that we have a new adult cabana bar or tiki bar or whatever you might call it. We're not proposing a thatched roof or anything on this, but really provide that wonderful experience out there at the pool. Maybe some picnic tables along this side and a grilling area along here for some of your great social events that you could have on a weekend night down there during the summertime. So we did an artist conceptual rendering of what that could look like. So we have an island bar underneath the existing pavilion structure that you have now in a very economical way, installing maybe some ceiling fans and some nice TVs to really give it just that wonderful experience. And again, just some visioning images of some of the completed projects of that going on in other clubs. So that's phase one of the program. So when I talk about cost, everything that I've presented so far in the presentation is included in the phase one cost. These are the future phases. It is a long-range master plan. We wanted to create the vision for the future of the facilities. So in that is a member activity center that we see as a future phase. And again, it's a trend within the private club industry to really capitalize on the synergy between pool, tennis, ultra-casual dining, and fitness as well. So what we looked at this program here is looking down at your pool and tennis complex and the development of a new structure and a new amenity down by the pool. You'll see the introduction of a 2-story member activity center. It's about 9,500 square feet in total space on 2 floors. You can see a reallocated and reorientated cart path as opposed to the one that comes along this way across Berge Road. This one will come this way towards your short game and your driving range facility. You can see it's nestled in the member activity center within the current parking area space, as well within the existing pool confines, keeping the existing pool house for our changing rooms, And then maybe the introduction of a sport court facility, great for youth activities, different types of amenities that could go on there. With regard to the conceptual plan, again, a two-story structure. You'll see on the left is the first floor plan that's really on grade with the parking lot and on grade with the pool facility towards the right. And then the second level is the upper level, which is our fitness component. As I walk through the components, we'll come in off the parking lot into a nice lobby and a small ultra-casual grill. Great for servicing the pool folks as well as those that are utilizing tennis or fitness or just an overall ultra-casual dining experience. Maybe after t-ball, after soccer practice for all those young members with young family, we feel it would be a great amenity as well. We have an indoor-outdoor bar facility and a kitchen that would support that operation as well as service the pool deck. You can see also the introduction of a new amenity here, which is 2 golf simulators. We really think it could be a great experience all season long relative to that. It really has become like a Friday night bowling league in clubs, where you can play your own course as well as other courses and really have the interaction with the bar and grill in that experience as well. We also have the introduction of a new amenity here as well, which is a youth activity room as well as a child care facility. Great for members that are golfing as well as those that are using the fitness facility or the tennis as a really wonderful activity and amenity that increases the value of your overall dues dollars. The youth activity room would really support the pool deck for all of your kids' camps and those activities as well. On the upper level, you can see that we have an appropriately sized fitness center for your size membership with a little bit of room to grow. You can see that we have the cardio equipment space overlooking the pool deck for wonderful views, and also the introduction of 2 group exercise classrooms for your yoga or your spinning, Pilates, all those different types of group exercise classes. We do have some changing rooms with small day locker facilities for both men and women to support the overall fitness experience. Just to show you some vision images of what those spaces could look like, this is one of our recently completed member activity centers down in North Carolina. This one was a little bit larger than yours. It's about 20,000 square feet of space. Yours is about half that. But this is their ultra-casual dining space right off of their pool deck. A really efficient building when it comes to menu service offerings, being able to have a lot of grab and go with the bar facility there. This was their indoor-outdoor bar during the day as well as in the evening time. Their fitness facility was also located on the upper level here. You can see great natural light, great ceiling heights for working out, a wonderful space along with their group exercise classrooms. When it comes to the youth activity rooms, this is more geared towards the tween age group, and then you have one that's geared more towards the toddlers. And then as we look at our golf experience with our golf simulators, it really becomes that socialization space for your fellow members. Grab a drink, play a round of golf with your fellow members in a really relaxed and cool environment. And then the sport court facility here, again, a low dollar cost, but really a high impact relative to that, where you could have some volleyball, basketball, all those different types of activities down along the pool deck. So we also have future clubhouse enhancements in this. I've talked to you about phase 1. I do want to talk to you about the future elements of the plan. So here on the conceptual plan, you'll see everything in gray will have been completed in phase 1 of the program, but you will see the remaining areas would be addressed in a future phase. The predominant area that we focused on in this program is really looking at your banquet experience and your ballroom experience. One of the things that the club is severely lacking is a pre-function space to support your ballroom. There's really no place where you come for cocktails prior to coming to an event. So in this area here, you'll see the introduction of a new pre-function loggia. What we've looked at doing was actually pushing out the building and pulling the ballroom slightly into this space to create that pre-function. We think it's a twofold event. One, it gives you that pre-function area, but second, we think it helps to improve the overall street appeal of the front elevation of the clubhouse. We could have some nice glass windows here, provide a lot of natural light into that area as you proceed to flow into the ballroom. And then you can see the banquet patio off of that wall over there would provide great exterior space of which you can go out to have cocktails overlooking the event lawn that you have that ties in with that space. Next, you'll see some improvements relative to the kitchen facility. Food service access from the kitchen to your lower level dining area within the men's locker room is a bit of a challenge now. For all of you that don't know, the kitchen staff has to come out these doors, down those stairs, and down to service you all in the men's locker room. We wanted to see how we could improve that experience from an efficiency standpoint, and you'll see here the introduction of a stair behind us in that storage area that drops you right down to the lower level right outside of the men's locker room. On the lower level, you will see all within the existing footprint of the building. Really looked at an aesthetic upgrade of a lot of the spaces, aesthetic upgrade of the women's locker room and lounge area, as well as the pro shop. Again, an aesthetic upgrade of the men's locker room space. Looking at the introduction of a horseshoe-shaped crosstalk bar, much like we did in phase 1 of the program, but here in the men's grill. And from the patio above, we really think this provides us the wonderful opportunity to have a covered patio down below, maybe with a tongue and groove ceiling, some ceiling fans, a wonderful experience for all members, couples as well, and ladies to be able to access with the indoor-outdoor bar for the turn facility, really elevating that overall experience for you. And then lastly, not to forget Ray, but we really need some attention on the long-range plan of the golf maintenance facility. You can see here an aerial picture of the existing facility that you have. This structure is in rather good shape. These are relatively tired. In this overall plan, we would look to replace those buildings with a couple of Butler-style buildings, one to house your maintenance facility, chemical storage, and then some covered open storage, and create a true agronomy center in the courtyard fashion. So hopefully Andrew and I have gotten you excited about some or all of the elements of the plan, but with change comes cost, and I do want to share with you how these costs have been developed. By no means have we developed full-scale construction documents and set these out to bid, but in order to give you a realistic cost estimate and budget with which to implement phase 1, we developed a preliminary pricing document set. It's a demo plan, reflected ceiling plan, finished schedule that we could send to a local reputable contractor to give us a realistic cost estimate. Andrew has based his numbers on historical data that he has, as well as getting contractor involvement in the numbers. So for phase 1 of the golf course improvements, everything that Andrew talked about relative to all the bunkers, as well as your 4 green complexes that he outlined, and 75% of your drainage lines, that number is about $1.1 million. Relative to the phase 1 clubhouse and pool components, that's $1,930,000. Now that estimate is inclusive of hard construction cost, as well as appropriate site work, furnishings, fixtures, accessories, appropriate bar equipment, as well as a healthy contingency of about 15%, and all necessary soft costs to develop the documentation and permitting. Now note, estimates for future phases have not been developed due to the uncertainty of time frame for their implementation. So understanding now the cost, we had to develop a funding model or financial model of which to implement the $3 million proposed for phase 1. So club leadership, working with chambers and club management, developed a multitude of different financial models to support the implementation of phase 1. The primary goals of the financial model, we wanted to develop a funding method that had the least financial impact to the membership as possible, while still being fiscally sound. We didn't want to overburden the club with debt, but we also wanted to minimize the upfront payment to the membership as great as possible. We also wanted to seek input from the club's current bank to understand if the model is viable, as well as their willingness to assist in the lending. And over the last couple of months, that exercise has been completed, and our model is viable with the bank. And lastly, we wanted to base the model on existing membership levels. and allow for new member fees to accelerate debt payoff and timing of future master plan phases. This is not build it and they will come in order to pay for this plan. We certainly expect that new members would join, and new members that would join would pay their fee and associated cost, and that would help to accelerate the debt payoff and the timing for future phases. So what does that mean to you all in terms of support? Looking at it, we have two options for your consideration. You'll see on the left is the membership categories, and all of your member categories here are not listed, but the primary ones are. And you'll see two components to our option number one, an upfront assessment and a monthly capital payment. So you'll see if you're a primary member, the upfront assessment is $2,750 and a monthly capital payment of $45 per month. We have our primary seniors, which we looked at according to age and split them up. For all members that are 65 and to 74 years of age in the primary senior category, would see a $2,350 upfront assessment. That's 15% off of the primary members, or 85% of that number, and the $45 a month. The same for limited members at $2,045. Our primary seniors of the age 75 and older, it's a $1,500 assessment and $45 a month. Primary 31 to 40, primary 21 to 30, and social members as follows. Now, there may be some members out there that say, can I just write you a check and not have the monthly capital payment, but could you give me a discount? And absolutely. That second option would then be for you, and you can see the upfront assessment amount for our primary members would be $6,500 with no monthly capital payment, and then so on down the list for our other membership categories. Now, a few financial notes. This model is based on a 15-year term. So the monthly capital payment is for 15 years. It's based on a 4.5% interest and 95% of the current membership level. We would hope that no member would leave the club if this program were to be approved, but to be financially conservative in our planning purposes, we've built the model on 95% of your current membership level for the length of the 15-year term. The upfront assessment, either option 1 or option 2, is payable in installments over a 12-month period of time. So if you wanted to spread those payments out equally over 12 months, you could. If you wanted to pay one at month 1 at month 3, month 6, month 9, month 12, to spread it out, we wanted to soften the upfront investment for you as best we can. Point number 3, the membership category's contributions is based on an adjusted prorated amount in relation to your current dues. In starting the development of this model, we looked at each categories of membership and what they pay in a relationship to a primary member, and then we adjusted the model accordingly. Point number 4, for option number 1, should a member leave the club during the 15-year period of time, their financial obligation would end. In option number 1 and option number 2, both the upfront assessment is non-refundable. It does not add to your equity that you have here at the club. If you were to select option 1 and you paid the upfront assessment and chose to leave the club for whatever reason, job transfer, in year 3 of this, your financial obligation of the $45 per month would end. Upon approval of the program, the club would increase the initiation and joining fee by the amount of the upfront assessment, and the new member would begin paying the corresponding monthly capital payment. So if there was a new member that would join in 3 years, the club would look to increase the initiation and joining fee by the upfront amount. So new members coming in would contribute the same amount that you all are paying on the upfront amount. If they joined in year 3, they would begin to pick up the $45 per month for as long as they are a member or to the end of the 15-year term. And for all you that are trying to do the math, does it make sense to do option 1 versus option 2? Option 2 represents a 67% discount, or $4,350 savings off of option number 1 for a primary member. So we're passing that savings on to you. It benefits you as well as the club and minimizes the amount of debt the club would have to take on. So the timeline going forward is just this. We really do not have a timeline other than we want to get your thoughtful feedback and understand what you feel about this program. If it's positive, we would look to go to a vote relatively quickly. If we get some pushback, we would revise and further study before proceeding forward with the vote. So this is our process again. We want to get your exit surveys back so we can adjust the plan and then proceed with our membership brochure and approval and plan implementation. So with that, the team will pass out the exit surveys, and I'll open up for any questions that you all may have. Everything was positive. We would hope that we could start construction on the golf course this fall, maybe in the October, November timeframe, minimize any disruption that you would have, and it would be back up for the season. So really minimal disruption to you all out on the golf course. Relative to the clubhouse improvements, we would probably look to start construction this time next year after the holiday seasons of 2018, and then be able to be up in time for the height of your season come the May timeframe. So, sure. The question was, why do we put the bar on that side in the plan? And I think I may have missed on the future phase that one of the things that we're also doing in a future phase is wrapping the patio or the deck around the side. So it was really looking at having that bar play into that indoor-outdoor experience with that, as well as kind of improving the views out towards the course as those that are sitting at the bar. I think that's something that we've heard about, have you looked at other places for the bar? We studied it, we thought this was best, but welcome your feedback on the survey. Yeah. So question was, is that 95% of the current membership a net number with new members coming in of what we would expect? We're hoping, and we don't expect that any member would leave the club because of it. We also wanted to be financially conservative in our planning. So I would say that it's 95% of the current membership level for the length of the term, assuming that we wouldn't get any new member back over that 95% for the 15 years. So again, it's very conservative in our planning purposes.
What we've kind of tried to look at is if you're going to continue to do a few major projects, that we'll try to do critical repair work within kind of a normal capital improvement program. The complete reconstruction of the cart pass, we have not evaluated that number or how that would occur, just because we know there are a few steps that we have to take. But we also understand that the cart pass, a number of them are in disrepair, right? So there's a little bit of give and take there. We don't want to spend money and then have to spend money again. So we're trying to make it balance. But it's something we can continue to work on and provide you additional information.
So we don't have any numbers on approximately what that would be?
It would be a ballpark. It's roughly $40 a lineal foot. If you took a golf course of 7,000 yards, you can kind of do the math.
Yeah, that's often asked. You don't see it a lot in country clubs. You see it more so in like city clubs where they do have naming opportunities and things like that. I did work with one club in my history that this was during the recession, was having trouble getting financing, and actually a group of members pulled together and created an LLC and actually funded the club with the return on an investment in an interest, a realistic interest rate for them. I haven't necessarily seen, someone put up $1 million to put their name above the bar, but there's always a first for everything, I guess. So. The question was, in general, how are banquet facilities and ballrooms and clubs being used? And you really have to take it on a case-by-case basis. Clubs really have to make the determination whether they're in the banquet business or not, and whether that is part of their core value or mission. I think for a club like yours in the community that you have, there's a great opportunity to have tremendous usage and revenue, corresponding revenue to that, given that you are within this community where there's not that many options for that. So we really thought that it was an opportunity here with a refresh of the space, that it could be a great chance here for it. Yeah, so how will golf course construction happen and impact play? The early thinking is that it would begin, if everything members supportive, that we would like to start construction in the fall sometime, in the kind of October, November, and really be up before the height of the season would ever start. So really minimal impact to you all, except maybe during the off season.
Yeah. Let me go in that just a little deeper dive on that one. So most golf contractors are used to working around play. Now, obviously, we want to keep everybody safe, but for a bunker project, unless the bunker is right in front of a green, we're working. You might be playing next to the guys working. The only thing we'd ask is that you keep playing golf and the guys keep working. If there's a major event, we would shut down, go away, for an outing or some kind of critical member event. But we feel like, a mid-fall start, working through the winter, obviously you never know what the weather's going to do, and then working into the spring. So you'd see the guys working, but other than maybe the front bunker on 4 or maybe the front bunker on 16, those par 3s, those are kind of tricky that you might have to go to a temporary green, or we do that in a really slow period, say the first part of December. Otherwise, you'd be able to still utilize your golf course.